a bulldog, and yes, all the puppies live. So this here is the Basset Hound, and you can see this uterus is enormous. And so this is Dr. Hawksworth, and she's doing the C-section here. The Basset Hound was so full of puppies, we were afraid she wasn't going to be able to have them on her own, so we just went ahead and did a timed C-section. And so there's 11 puppies here, you guys can see. And so this is us just rubbing the puppies here, and there's all 11 of those Basset Hound puppies, and that's just the size of the uterus there. It's pretty crazy. So there they all are. They look so cute. Puppies are adorable. But that's a lot of mouths to feed. But mommy did well, and they were able to sell those. So is it worth the money? We think so. So these Basset Hound puppies, they were selling them for $1,500 a piece, times 11 puppies. That's $16,500 for one litter. And if you can do that, if let's say you had 4 females, you make a living off of that. Now, granted, that's not all profit because you have to consider you're paying for the vet bills, you're paying for shots, you're paying for food. Not all profit, but we see more and more interest in surgical artificial insemination and transcervical artificial insemination all the time because of the litter size, because it's increased profits for the people. All right, we're going to move on to cats. If you guys, with domestication, with feline reproduction, we are controlling the reproduction of felines more and more. Now, obviously, I would say over 50% of feline reproduction happens naturally because there's so many barn cats and so many wild cats. Most of them are just live cover out in the wild and we're not controlling it. But we're going to talk about controlled feline reproduction and not so much wild feline reproduction. So our female's called a queen and our male's called a tom. Cats reach puberty around 6 to 9 months. Their estrus cycle is seasonal, but they are polyestrous in that because they cycle from January to September, and some cats can cycle year-round, especially if they're in a controlled environment like house cats or if they're in some type of a warm area. But with their estrus cycle, pro-estrus only is about 1 to 2 days, and that means they're attracted to males. They might rub their head and neck on objects. They vocalize, they posturate, they roll. So if you see your cat, if you have an unspayed female and she's doing this, especially if it's that female that's going meow, meow, meow all night long. You guys, when you have that, it's probably because she's in heat. If you spay her, that will stop. So estrus, again, is when she accepts the male. That's usually on days 4 to 6 if a male is present. And it lasts 10 days if there's no male. So that means if she's not bred, or like, it's your house cat and there's no access to a male, she's going to meow and keep you up all night for 10 days. 10 days feels like 40 when you have a cat that's meowing all night. So spay your cat. So ovulation occurs 27 hours after mating because in cats, ovulation is induced. So the males have these little barbs on their penis, and when the barbs stimulate the inside of the vagina, and that's what causes that LH surge and causes them to ovulate. And it's caused because they've felt that in the vagina, and that causes ovulation. And so you can actually force a female to ovulate. So if you have, and don't try this at home, but we've done it for people that have a house cat and she's in heat, and maybe for whatever reason they can't spay her right now, money, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You can actually take a Q-tip and moisten it, and you can actually take a Q-tip and shove it up inside the vagina and kind of stimulate a male being in there. That will cause her to ovulate and cause her to go out of heat, which would be relieving for you because you don't have 10 days of screaming. So they can be affectionate or aggressive towards owners. It just depends on the female. And then I have a video of what an estrus female is like that you guys can observe, and it's you'll be like, oh yeah. And you would think that my favorite thing is the people think that their cat is hurt. So they call into the vet clinic and they're like, my cat's screaming, I think there's something wrong with it. And I was like, well, how long has this been going on? Because sometimes you have to consider it might be litter box or urinary issues. So I'm like, how long has this been going on? Well, it just started three days ago. And now my next question is, your cat spayed? They say no. I ask, how old is your cat? And oh, she's 7 months. Guess what? She's probably in heat. It's probably not a problem with her being able to urinate, and especially we usually ask them, like, is she still eating? Is she still drinking? Is her litter box like normal? Yeah, she's using the litter box. She's wandering around the house screaming. And when you guys watch this video, you'll hear it. It's like, meow, like you think that your cat is dying, but they're just looking for a boyfriend. So if the queen did not ovulate, she actually returns to proestrus, and that's for 8 to 10 days. So guess what? If you don't spay your cat, this cycle of you being up for all night for 10 days is going to go over and over and over and over. So spay your cat. Then if they've ovulated, then they go into diestrus. And so this is why sometimes we try to stimulate copulation so they'll ovulate, because then they either go into a pseudo-pregnancy for 40 days or they actually become pregnant and they're pregnant for 60 days. So that gives you a little more relief and gives her body some time to shut down until you either can save money, get your cat spayed, or go ahead and get her spayed since she's ovulated. And then they have a period of anestrus of 3 to 4 months before they go back into this. However, if they do not get any type of stimulation and they don't have a pseudo-pregnancy or a pregnancy, they go right back into this. So they're, as compared to the dog where it's up and down, it's one and done, cats are over and over and over and over and over again until mating occurs, at which case they either have pregnancy and then parturition and lactation, or they have a pseudo-pregnancy. So if you guys notice, their estrogen is up and down because that's their proestrus and their estrus happening in their body. This P line here, that goes up here at pregnancy, what do we think that is? Hopefully in your head, you're thinking progesterone, because progesterone is needed for pregnancy. So that dark P line there is progesterone increasing because that pregnancy needs to be maintained. So this just shows you here, this is just another little diagram, that they're proestrus and then they're estrus, and they're either back to proestrus or they're pregnant. So it's either one of these two, and in which case they can go back. This arrow goes both ways right here because they can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, which is why you want to spay your cat. So that way you're not back and forth here listening to your cat scream. Otherwise, this is what happens here. They go into diestrus and they're pseudo-pregnancy for 40 days, and then hopefully they go into anestrus, or they can go from diestrus back into here, or they are pregnant and then they go back into this, because remember, cats are seasonally polyestrous, which means that they cycle multiple times in a season. So she's going to continue to do this over and over in a season, which is one of the reasons that cats populate so quickly. So this is just that blown up picture of the hormonal changes. Again, that estrogen going up and down because she's going in and out of heat. And then that progesterone level is pretty low until pregnancy happens, and that's because of the LH surge. And so then progesterone goes up along with that luteinizing hormone because ovulation has happened, and it's saying, yes, I want to maintain my pregnancy, please. So that's just showing you the proestrus there. And then there's mating that has happened, pregnancy, parturition, and then obviously lactation, because she's got to produce milk for those kittens. So during proestrus, estrogen increases because of follicular development. So follicles develop on the ovaries. That estrogen level goes up. That's causing her to say, hey. So she's looking for that boyfriend. Estrogen is always high until they ovulate. And remember, in cats, ovulation is stimulated. So because of stimulation, they then ovulate. Same as rabbits. Rabbits are also induced ovulators. So they feel the male's entry, and they know their ovaries go, okay, poof, and they shoot the little eggies out, and they go down the oviducts for fertilization. Diestrus, there is no corpus luteum if mating does not occur. And the reason for that there's no corpus luteum is because if mating doesn't occur, they go back to proestrus. They go right back here. Because remember, they're induced ovulators. They can't form a corpus luteum if the follicle never erupts. So the corpus luteum is formed after the follicle erupts. Otherwise, they just grow really, really big, and then they decrease. And then no corpus luteum ever happens, so there's no progesterone being produced to maintain a pregnancy, so they go right back here. Corpus luteum produces progesterone for 63 days, as well as the fetus. It peaks at day 20. If pregnancy does not occur or it fails, then they sometimes will abort those kittens, or if they're in that false pregnancy, because obviously the corpus luteum doesn't last the entire pregnancy all the time, because that fetus takes over the production of progesterone. So if they're in a false pregnancy, that corpus luteum starts to die and shrink, and then they go back to their beginning stages or into anestrus. So queens call or vocalize during mating. That's a low moaning sound. So like I said, you hear that meow, meow, and then people think their cat is dying. They think it's a sign of illness. And during mating, the tom actually bites the neck of the female, and then the female is going to arch up underneath and move her tail to the side. And the male's penis actually comes out like, so the male's penis faces this way. So he actually brings his butt and curves down underneath, and the penis actually comes out and curves up into the female. So as you guys can see in the tom, the penis faces backwards, but when he mounts the female, that penis comes down and curves forward. And if you look really close on this picture, there's barbs on that penis. Those barbs are what stimulates the inside of the vagina, which then stimulates ovulation. So hence the reason induced ovulator. Mating only lasts 30 seconds. It can be up to 5 minutes, but it's usually pretty quick. It's kind of like a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So the male will bite her. You'll see ferocious like humping, and then they literally run apart. That's literally usually how it happens. Usually the female will give a copulation call because she feels the entrance of the male. The tom knows that, and so then so these guys, their ejaculation is super quick. There's no being stuck inside the female. They ejaculate and then they're gone. So pretty much he's like his side of the room, her side of the room. However, mating will occur 6 or 7 times until the queen declines. So you'll sometimes, if you see like wild cats running around the neighborhood, you'll see one female cat in heat, and then she has 3 toms following her, and she may mate with all 3 of those toms in a row. So in cats, you can actually have kittens that all belong to different males. So they all have one mom, but they all have different males because it just depends on whose sperm actually comes in contact with the egg. And since they mate so many times and up to 4 days, they can have multiple males. And I mean, she may mate with 6 or 8 toms depending on how many toms are in the area. They don't care. So this here shows 2 males. So this is the female. There's the first tom. Here's the second tom waiting his turn because in cats that's how it works. And then she's going to hang out. She's going to roll around and purr and then wait for them. So this just shows you the reproductive anatomy of the male. The male's penis is barbed, so they have like a barbed penis down here, and they do not have an os penis. Their penis is soft, and when you castrate a male, these barbs on the end of the penis actually go away. So that is one way you can tell if a male has been castrated. Is you can actually exteriorize the penis and look for the barbs on the end. The barbs almost look like a cat's tongue, where they have all those little like if you see a cat's tongue and it feels rough, that's exactly what the end of a male's penis feel like when he's intact. So if you have a male that you're not sure if he's been neutered or if he's a cryptorchid, on a cat, you could actually sedate them, exteriorize the penis, and see if they have barbs. If they have barbs, they're probably a cryptorchid and they still have testosterone. If they don't have barbs, they've most likely been neutered. So here's a couple of videos of feline mating, and then as you can see here, here's the barbs on the penis. You guys should observe these. There are questions about them on your guided notes. So barbs on the penis right there that you can kind of see, and they do feel rough. They kind of like they're almost prickly, but like a soft prickly, like kind of like a tongue. Like they're rough. So cats are pregnant for 60 to 63 days, so same as dogs. We can diagnose it by abdominal palpation on days 17 to 25. Feels like little grapes. Cats are usually pretty easy to palpate. Their stomach isn't quite as hard as dogs. So you can usually kind of feel them go bloop, bloop, bloop. You can kind of feel them like they'll pop through your hands like little water balloons. And like they are about the size of grapes. Then similar to other species and events in hormonal control. So their hormones are the same as dogs. I don't want to hammer you guys with that stuff. Dystocia, which is difficult birth. Dystocia means difficult birth, is rare in cats. I've only ever seen 2 cat C-sections in my entire vet tech career. Cats almost always don't have problems. Cats, however, can stop pregnancy or stop parturition and then restart their parturition up to 24 hours later. So some people say my cat had 3 kittens and then a day later she had 2 more kittens. Yes, cats can do that. Horses can as well. So it's best if you see a cat in labor, leave her alone. Don't touch her, don't mess with her, because the more you mess with her, she's going to stop parturition, and she's probably going to try to move her kittens that she has currently into a safer area or a safer location. So leave them alone. If they do experience uterine inertia, so remember that uterine inertia is like where there's exhaustion or like they're unable to have those kittens, you can give oxytocin and calcium just like in dogs. We can control estrus of cats. The best way to stop estrus is an ovariohysterectomy. So ovario referring to ovaries, hyster referring to uterus, ectomy referring to the removal of. Ovariohysterectomy, removal of the ovaries and the uterus, is a spay. So we can spay them, and that is the best way to control estrus. You can give them HCG to induce ovulation. So human chorionic gonadotropin is what that is. You can also vaginally stimulate them to induce ovulation. So remember I talked about we do that to cats sometimes to get them to ovulate so the owners don't have to listen to them scream. And then you can actually prevent estrus. You can put cats on progesterone. And my friend Sammy, who shows cats, if she doesn't want a cat to cycle when she's showing that particular cat, she doesn't want her to be pregnant because she's showing her, they will actually put them on progesterone. So they put them on birth control to stop ovulation from happening, so that they're more cooperative in the show ring. Plus, you are not allowed to show a cat that's in heat. They will disqualify you from the show. And it's because it's distracting to the toms that are there, because they show obviously male cats and female cats, and you don't want them at the show together if the female's in heat, because the male can smell that. Male dogs, this is just kind of random fact, male dogs can smell a female dog in heat up to 2 miles away, and cats are very similar. So, some other disorders, pseudo-pregnancy. So if they mate to a sterile male, or we use vaginal stimulation or hormonal stimulation, we can cause pseudo-pregnancy. So that's kind of what my friend Sammy does. She puts them on progesterone, makes the cat think she's pregnant. They can have cysts, and they can also get pyometria. So pyometria is pyo referring to pus, and metria referring to infection of the uterus. So pus in a pus-filled uterus. Dogs are more likely to get pyos than cats. Cats are more likely to have an open pyo, where like you actually see the discharge, and dogs are more likely to have a closed pyo where you don't see the discharge. Closed pyos are very dangerous because we don't know that the female's sick until sometimes it's too late. So pyometria refers to a pus-filled uterus. They can actually fail to cycle because of stress, poor nutrition, disease, blah, 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 inadequate light, all those kind of things. So they can fail to cycle just like dogs can. Diseases of the tomcat, spraying. Not really disease, but it's probably the most annoying thing that male cats do. Spray on things. Male cat pee smells, and it's awful to get out of anything. You guys probably with our male tomcats in here, it stinks. Oh my word, is it strong. The only thing that we can do for that is castrate. If the male's castrated and he's still spraying, it's behavioral, and that's something you need to work on with your vet. They can become cryptorchids. If you guys remember, cryptorchids are retained testicles. They should descend about 10 days after birth. If they don't, they stay stuck up inside, and the only treatment obviously is castration. Cryptorchidism in male cats is rare, but it does happen. I feel like we've seen it more in here. And when it does happen, it's usually because of interbreeding. So like when you have dads breeding daughters and things like that, because again, cats don't care. So this here, I don't know why I have estrus behavior in the bitch here, I do, but I have a little video here, or actually I don't know if this is a video, I think it's a, media space. It's a video, estrus in the bitch. But so if you guys have questions or concerns about any of this, normally this lecture, we talk a lot more in detail about cat mating, and we talk a lot more in detail about mating in general in animals and the hormones. I just didn't want to overwhelm you guys because I know you're at home and this is kind of hard anyway. We'll review this stuff next year, so don't get overwhelmed if there's something you don't understand. But please, if you have questions, email me. Again, I love reproduction. It's my favorite. If I could sit and talk about reproduction all day, I would. You guys would probably get bored. But if you have questions or concerns, please, please, please email me. Send me a text message. Call me. I miss you guys so much. I hope you're having a good week. Hopefully this is all on the downhill stretch, and summer's almost here. I'll miss you guys. Hopefully we get together. Again, if you guys need anything, please get a hold of me. Have a good week.